Before we get started, I have a quick favor. I've been self-funding the Finding Genius podcast for 5 years now. I've done over 3,000 episodes. And as you can see on YouTube, we're up over 1 million views on the channel, which is fantastic. The next thing I really want to push on is to get up to 10,000 subscribers. Because once we do, we'll be able to put a donate button and we'll be able to solicit donations to help keep the podcast running and to also get the Finding Genius Foundation moving along. We have a big project studying anxiety, depression, and PTSD and working on a product to help people overcome these problems because I've seen them explode recently after the last 2 years of the whole virus situation. So if you would, please subscribe to the podcast. That would help us tremendously. Give us a thumbs up and check in the description for Buy Me a Coffee. It's about $5. If you could buy me a coffee, I'd really appreciate it. It would help keep the channel going, and I love coffee. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chuck Thompson. I'm the Director of Customer Relations and Market Strategy at eFire USA. Our mission is simple: bring innovation to fire safety because there's never enough fire protection. There is always a need to look for more tools to aid in the prevention of fire and mitigate loss of life and property. Thank you.
Forget frequently asked questions.
Common sense, common knowledge, or Google.
How about advice from a real genius? 95% of people in any profession are good enough to be qualified and licensed. 5%
Go above and beyond.
they become very good at what they do, but only
0.1%.
are real geniuses. Richard Jacobs has made it his life's mission to find them for you. He hunts down and interviews geniuses in every field: sleep science, cancer, stem cells, ketogenic diets, and more. Here come the geniuses. This is the Finding Genius Podcast
With Richard Jacobs.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Finding Genius podcast. My guest today is Chuck Thompson. He's the Director of Customer Relations at eFire USA. The website is eFireusa.com. So we're going to talk about some really innovative and interesting fire safety products that they've made. I think I saw an advertisement on the web. So I asked my scheduler, I said, let's get this company. This is really cool. And they just sent me a box of some of the products to try out. So I appreciate that. And let's talk about what they do. So welcome, Chuck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's nice to talk to people about fire because it's, one of the things we talk about is, or we're aware of, I'm doubling it up, is the awareness of fire and the realities of it is very low. It doesn't come to people's mind, unfortunately.
Well, tell me a bit about your background. How did you find or found this company? And then we'll talk about the products.
I am actually a marketer advertiser at heart. Most of my career was spent in the ad and marketing business in various capacities, starting up brands and managing brands through sometimes in infancy, sometimes taking them over and figuring out their marketing and their programs to actually bring them in front of the right people at the right time. So making connection with the right people, understanding what a marketplace is and how to deliver the messages. And about 5 years ago, I have an acquaintance, a very close friend who was the owner of the company, who had some concerns about fire because of his main business, which is a millworking business. He has quite an extensive warehouse with lots of expensive material. And if you're a millworker, you can understand lots of wood. Now, he is compliant and has sprinklers, which you should have, and fire extinguishers, which you should have. But in the event when he leaves, we used to in the marketing business, what keeps you up at night? And what I asked him, what kept him up at night was, what happens if something happens? What happens if a mechanical breakdown happens? I'm not there. What happens? What do I have if it starts in one part of my warehouse and the sprinklers go off and destroy the entire, soak a millworking business, which is the worst thing to happen. He had discovered and looked at a product called the eFireball, was the Allied Fireball also, which is an automatic extinguishing ball that can be placed in areas of concern. And he asked me to help him understand the market and see if it was there and what it was about, because he wanted to not only use it, he felt there was strong enough need for it, but he wanted support. And I did a deep dive, and there was. It is a large market, predominantly all extinguishers and some sort of fixed systems. So the need was there. And when you look at the product, as you said, it is super cool looking. It shouldn't really be thrown, which is one way because it's a sphere. But this got me involved, and I sort of took off into the world of firefighting, and it's very eye-opening. And it is in need of innovation. It really is.
Well, why? What are the things that happen surrounding fire that, what happens right now if you have a fire at work or at home and, you don't have sprinklers or they don't come on? What do you do, and how do the products solve or make the problem a lot easier to solve?
One of the product I just spoke about is easy. It's put in areas of concern. So if it's a home office or whatever, you have it, you put it over electrical boxes, you put it in furnaces, you put it in boiler room, you put it in flashpoints where fires can start. The ball comes with a mounting bracket and 2 screws. So you place it over that about 1 foot, a little less, or 2 feet above it. If a fire starts, it only activates when it comes in contact with flame. So it can be in over 200-degree heat and below zero. It will not activate. You can drop it. You can have catch with it. Nothing will happen. But if flame hits it, as I like to say, if you flick a bic under it, in 5 seconds it will activate. What it does is it activates and disperses a trichem, which is a normal fire extinguisher, non-liquid, obviously, over the fire extinguishing it at the point. So in cases and it's 24/7, you don't have to be there, and it's 5 to 7 year shelf life. So you set it and forget it.
So when I've seen in the videos, like the ball gets thrown and it explodes, I thought that it forces the air away from the fire and creates like a dead zone of no oxygen, and that's what snuffs it out. Is that not the mechanism of action?
It attacks the triangle of the fire, exactly. It explodes above it, disperses the powder, disperses it, and cuts the oxygen, and it's out. It's a dry chemical fire extinguisher in a ball. You do see a lot of throwing, which is what gets us noted. We recommend that only for professionals, fire professionals. We have firefighters.
Right.
Because if you miss it, if you're a novice and you just want to try it, if you miss the fire, it won't go off. Because it has to hit.
What would be a better way to do it? Like a gentle underhand toss onto the fire?
Each ball comes with a mounting bracket and 2 screws. So you put that in the areas of concern. So you just screw it into the wall, hang the ball in the basket over your areas where there's a flash point or a concern or a place where you have valuable equipment. We had a woman come to us at a conference. We were doing a conference and she was intrigued. She loved the ball. And she said, I think I might have to look at getting it. And she came the next day and she said, could I buy one from you right now? So I said, sure. I said, what got you so urgent? She said she went up to her son's room, and behind he played the electric guitar, has a computer, has television lights, and she looked behind the computer. There were clothes laying, and on the surge protector, everything plugged into it were clothes across it.
Oh, yeah, that's going to happen.
She took a ball and she put it over there, and when she walked in, she says, as a matter of fact, I can use it in my garage. I have a refrigerator in my garage. I put it over there. And I can tell you a funny story. When I had the discussion with the owner, I came back and I was like, this is really cool, and I think it's needed. I was sort of battling. And my wife goes, well, we do have a fire extinguisher. And I'm like, you need more than that. She said, do you even know where ours is? And I was like, oh boy. So I clumsily said yes. She caught me about 10 minutes later rummaging through my garage. And it was old because they expire. And as I looked, she just laughed at me and she pointed to my wall in my garage. I had my garage door opener, a dog fence because we are to keep our dog in, and our sprinklers all into one socket. It looked like a spike, and she just touched the wall. So a ball went very quickly over that. Those are the places that you don't realize that are flashpoints that this product works for. There isn't. The ball fits an area that's a gray area. It's not a manually used product like a fire extinguisher, which you should never get rid of. We would never say ever you need more fire protection. You need it above and beyond. And it's not a fixed system, which is usually and generally always heat activated. This goes in those areas where you have concern because it activates.
How is it activated though? Is it the heat melts the housing around the ball? And
it has to touch flame. So the ball has fuses. If you look at the one you have, fuses on the side. On top of it is an igniter. So when the flame hits it, the fuse activates, and the fuse agitates the powder as it's burning inside, so it shakes it up a little bit, and then the igniter, it activates with a loud bang and disperses the powder over the area of fire. So it extinguishes it at the point. So, and the other beauty of the ball is the loud bang is a sound alarm. So if you're in your house or you're in another room, you hear that, there's no false activation. It is a live fire. So you should get people out. Get your fire extinguisher, which you should have, and you should know where your fire extinguisher is, not like me and most other people, and go investigate where the fire was and call the fire department, because fire departments should look at any fire no matter what. So,
all right, it's heat activated.
No, flame, only flame. Flame has the ball.
Okay, so what's happening when the flame touches the ball? I mean, it conveys heat, but what else has happened? What is it about the flame that does it?
It activates the fusing on the side. So there are actual fuses on the side of the ball.
But how?
the flame hits it. If you light a sparkler, you know how it goes. And that climbs up the side of the ball and goes to the activator on top. And that's when it activates, bang. And that disperses the powder.
What about in a very smoky environment? I mean, is there any remote detonation of these things? Like, you shine a laser pen on them, or, for fire department, let's say it was the room where there was tremendous smoke and the fire just wasn't getting to the right ball. Could you activate it remotely again by, wirelessly, RF or laser or something? Or
can't do it with a laser. You can activate it. We have the capabilities with our ball. It's wired, so you can actually wire it to a device that we have that you put on top that activates with a switch. So if you're in a situation where you can't see, or it's in a fire area, but you can't tell, you can activate, and it hasn't activated. Let's say the fire is near and it just hasn't hit the fuses. You just click the button and it goes off.
But you had to physically touch the button.
Yes, you did.
What if you had 100 of these in a building, and they were wired in, and you could remotely trigger one if you needed, and if one went off on its own, it would tell you exactly where in the building the fire is. So it could be a reporting system as well.
It can be. That's why we have the balls. The newest variation or generation of the ball has wiring that allows you to remotely activate it, to hook it to a smoke detector or a building monitoring system, so you can see where the balls are. It can actually start measuring the heat around it, so you can see a rise in temperature. So let's say if you're in a security system in a warehouse, you notice in one of the rooms where the balls are deployed in that specific area, you see the heat spike to a really high point, like over 150, where you notice something is going on. You can actually deploy the ball through the security system.
Okay. And then how long, what if the ball deploys, but the fire, a remnant of the fire survives it? Now the ball has released its payload, and now the fire reignites and starts going again. Like, how long of a period of extinguishing, I don't even know the proper word, like how many seconds?
The ball is not, we will never sell the ball as it's going to put out a house fire. It's not going to do it. It is another line of defense, in terms of you never have enough fire protection. So it's an additive line. So if it's placed right, it'll stop it in the spot. If it reignites, it gives you enough time to, again, get people out, bring your fire extinguisher or your other tools to the place and use that on it, and also call the fire department. So it'll give you enough time to react, to get people out and investigate and bring the fire or professionals involved.
Is there a hazard in breathing in the dry chemical?
No, it's a dry chemical, so you don't want to go and snort it, so to speak. You want to get out of the room as you would with anything. Even when you're releasing a dry chem fire extinguisher, you release it, you don't breathe it in. You get away as quickly as possible. It's a fire situation also, so you don't want to be there. You want to step back and wait to see what happens.
What about for firemen or police? Could this be, could a fireman carry a number of them with them temporarily? Like let's say they're trapped. Could they throw a couple and buy themselves a few seconds to get out through an exit?
Absolutely. That's what fire departments use it for. Our largest line of business with the ball is in the B2B area. We do homeowners also. Lots of residential and lots of rental homes or second homes because people leave and they want to have the fire protection. But fire departments use it specifically for that. If they're stuck, they use it and they throw it. So when a fire in a local rural area, fire chiefs come first. So he's looking around at the fire. We had one fire chief. We were at a summit with fire chiefs, and he goes, "I get yelled at because they want me to do anything, and I really can't do anything because I'm there in a car." So his department bought a bunch of balls, and what they use it for is a chief, while the trucks are pulling up and getting equipment ready, he identifies the egress point. Where are we going in? Because firefighters would prefer to fight from the inside versus the outside in, getting in and then working. Two balls will give you enough suppression and room to get about 6 firefighters in to the room with equipment to start fighting it from the inside. That's how professionals are deploying it. We are right now also working with some wildfire people about how the ball can be used as through drone applications, through dropping the ball in front of teams going into wildfires to give them, the fire starts, they can find a flash point because they're using a lot of infrared readings on drones, finding the hot spots, have the drone with the balls. When they get there, if it starts, drop the balls to give enough time for fire teams to get on the ground.
Making them smaller into like shotgun-sized pellets and then have them in a gun, like a low-powered, air gun.
Funny you say that. We have a modified T-shirt shooting gun that you pop the ball in. And, when you go to the games and they're shooting the T-shirts up there, we have a beta test of one of those because to see how that would work. It's kind of effective, but it's not. Most of the firefighters said they'd play with it and shoot the balls at each other. So that's sort of, it's a weird world when you get into the fire business because, I can tell you some stories and I'm sort of switching a little bit, but I'm not. When you're talking about fire with people, they don't think it's going to happen to them unless it has.
Yeah.
So the comment I get is, well, I've got a fire extinguisher, me being one of them. Oh, I've got a smoke alarm. And if you get the businesses, if you try and find out in large businesses who is in charge of fire safety, when you AI it or anything, you come up with 12 titles who could have that under their, responsibility, one of them being HR in some cases. How that works and how that, I don't know. I actually had, so you get a lot of comments, well, my department's handling that. It is an amazing factor. I had one person, believe it or not, tell me at a conference, I live down the street from a fire department. Why do I have to worry? I didn't even know how to answer.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, but that's because you don't. And then you have someone who's had a fire, and they look at you and go, whoa, it's the scariest thing I've ever had, and I lost everything. So you will go there and not realize it. You could lose. You're not only losing your own, you're losing memories. You're losing things that you can never get back. And that's one of the things we're trying to build is awareness of fire. So we're twofold. We're trying to build awareness of fire and the need for more tools. We've reached a good, strong base point. You get a fire extinguisher from 50 pounds down to like a spray can. That's great for manual. You shouldn't. But what about that area that we're talking about? An area like a fire blanket might fit in, which is a little bit more dangerous, but you can use it. There are so many things out there, robotic sort of firefighting things that are ahead of the curve with us. And we're pretty simple. We're just different. And we have firemen looking at us in conferences going, what am I going to do with you? And then they spend a half an hour with me. So it's a very, very interesting, very complicated when you bring some of the certification issues into it, but it is very much in need of, because and I'm babbling again, I apologize. We are working with some insurance companies because they have recognized the fact that having a smoke alarm.
Yeah, this is not enough. This is active. This could actively save a room or a house or whatever it may be. Yeah.
We've become very active in the farming area, the agricultural area, because combine fires, building fires, and outbuildings are happening. Happens because it's a messy, dirty area, and fires can start. Not only Mother Nature, but breakdowns, and it starts.
So boats too. I mean, there's a lot of places where fire is very deadly. Yeah.
We were, one of the Concepcion, which was the dive boat off of Los Angeles, where the 34 people died because they were down below. The boat was compliant. It had everything it needed, but it wasn't prepared for 20 people sleeping below deck with cell phones plugged into a surge protector, and then they couldn't get out the door because the flames.
Yeah.
These are the areas where the ball could help, that type of thing, placing it over there, which is one of the main places we recommend on boats and everything else. Like we worked with West Marine as one of our distributors because they've recognized it. Because you get out there, we've been having some discussion in drones and fighting fire because
this wouldn't be good. But what about, has anyone put fire suppression inside the HVAC system of a building where it uses the HVAC system to disperse the chemical, retardant to put out the fires? I mean, obviously, people would have to put on either, some kind of respirator or get out so as not to be affected. But has anyone done something like that?
No, not to my knowledge. I mean, we do have our second product, which we came out with, which is an aerosol system, which we introduced last year. And that is another system that's fixed in line with sprinklers and fixed systems, but it is non-water solution and it's eco-friendly. That's a full room coverage one. That is heat activated. Again, that is heat. So you have to set it at the heat. And it's for more non-populated buildings because aerosol can stay in a room for you have to abandon the room for like 20 minutes, but the touch and clean. In that space, you have water. You can't use, there's all the others, the foams have been outlawed because they're dangerous and PFAS. So aerosol is a new way to go in that area. And we've got a leading, we are now offering that as one of our pieces.
Okay. Well, very good. So what's the best place for people to find out about the product and see it and, purchase it?
efireusa.com is where we go right now. That has a number of our videos. It has all our lines of products, the Fireball being our first, our aerosol system. We have an aerosol portable, and we are looking right now into the world of lithium batteries. And something we've done there is we are now in the beta testing of a vault where you can, e-bikes, big fire problems in places, tools. Name one warehouse or company that has tools that isn't lithium battery powered. You need to store them. So you put them in these things. They can be equipped with an aerosol, which is the best way of fighting. There's really no way of finding a lithium battery right now. I wouldn't even want to go into stories I've heard about car fires because it's so dangerous. But you could put it in here. What it does, it's an alarm. It's got a 90-minute safety thing so fire departments can come, and it's on wheels. So you wheel it out because that's the best way to fight lithium battery fires. So that's all on our website. Please check out the ball. Our mission is to bring innovation to fire safety anytime, anywhere, because there's never enough fire protection.
Very good. Chuck, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
You've been listening to the Finding Genius podcast with Richard Jacobs. If you like what you hear, be sure to review and subscribe to the Finding Genius podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And want to be smarter than everybody else? Become a premium member at findinggeniuspodcast.com. This podcast is for information only. No advice of any kind is being given. Any action you take or don't take as a result of listening is your sole responsibility. Consult professionals when advice is needed.